Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Barbara J. Beckley, and you are here at the Visibility Corner with myself and some wonderful, wonderful guests that I always bring on. I just love this show because I get to meet some wonderful experts in their field of genius. And I also get to really get to know them in another way of how they became who they are. And then even through all that, like I say, this is the visibility corner. Then I'm gonna kind of get some tips and some ideas on how in their lane of what they do, how they manage to get that visibility. Because I always tell people it's one thing to do the brilliance that you do, to be that expert that you are, but if people don't know who you are or don't know what you do, then it's kind of like, okay, well, your genius is being wasted because they don't see you. They don't talk to you. They don't network with you. And this visibility corner, I want to make sure that first of all, you get to know the different type of experts out there, the different type of people, if it's business, educating, consulting, whoever, whatever they do. But you also understand how they shine, how they put themselves out there, and some tips and stuff that might be able that you can do in your own lane by getting tips from them and hearing their stories. So today, as I always say, when I bring on the ladies on my show, I'm telling you, it's like royalty. And I do have royalty today in the room that's coming in. This lady, this queen, and I'll call lady queens, and she is exemplary as a queen. She's Professor Dr. Shauli Mukherjee, and she is from India. So that makes my show right now global. Yes, it is global. I'll tell people already, if you have a show, a podcast, or whatever you do, networking, always go global. Always meet people, and not just within your own world, but outside the world, because it is beautiful that you meet somebody and you can get a chance to get to know them and how they became the experts of their own. So, with this wonderful queen, just to give just some insight here, and this is just not telling you, this is a little small thing compared to telling you what this queen does. She's a passionate educator, a global thought leader, an international acclaimed inspired speaker with more than 23 years of experience in the education space. She has been awarded as India's top 10 women leaders in the educational industry and top 20 revelational educating leader, as well as among 99 women achievers, of India for the year 2021. She has also been listed among the top 50 most courageous women in business, leadership, and entertainment in 2022. She is currently the director of School of Education at Adams University, India. Okay, now this is just a small portion of what this queen does. Can you tell me, like I said, is royalty? So before we bring on royalty here, we have to make sure we do her proud. And soon as this one clip runs, we will get to meet this wonderful, amazing queen. Good. Oh my God. This is amazing. I keep using that word because I'm just so delighted, Queen. I'm just have to do that for coming on my show. You look beautiful. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much. And right at the very outset, I would like to say that I'm overwhelmed. The kind of warm introduction, greetings, and everything that I got from you. Thank you for being such a wonderful, wonderful host.
Oh, well, thank you for being such a wonderful queen and a lighthouse to the world in your educational sphere that you do as a professional. So we need to multiply you with what you do for just in the in academic field and just in general. It is so important. More and more, I keep telling people about education and how important it is, not just for the youth, but just overall. And you just do it so just endlessly. I was like, wow, when I was reading all of the accolades that you received and you've been in it for so long, I was like, okay, I need to take notes when I talk to this lady. I need to take some notes. But before we get into this a conversation about certain things, because all these educational awards you have and just procedures as you are, I always like to hear what I call the backstory, because I mean, you basically, I mean, you got to this point, but I know it took different things in your life to get there. So, can you just give us just a little backstory about how you got to be this wonderful queen that we see now?
So, yes, it started much before 23 years, because 23 years I have been in the field of education,
Mm,
working in the sector of education. But much before that, I think I had made a very, very conscious decision. I'm so happy that I have made it,
mm,
that I would be in this particular profession,
mm,
that I would be an educator, I would be a teacher, I would be somebody who would be impacting, inspiring, and touching the lives of many people around me through the ennobling power of education. So
mm,
that was a kind of a decision, I think, which I have made very early in my life, and
mm.
I'm so happy and blessed that I have been able to make it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, just to dig a little bit deeper, now when you were younger, I mean, you already look younger, so I'm just like, I don't know, I'm saying when you're five, maybe. But when you were younger, did you just, oh, you really wanted to, like you said, get into this lane, or did something happen that to say to yourself, I feel like this is my mission, this is my purpose of what I need to be doing?
So, it happened at various stages. So, when I was very young, I was fascinated by this kind of a profession. I was
Mm,
fascinated by certain role models who had
mm,
been there in my life as teachers. And of course, I cannot, avoid mentioning my parents, though they were not formal educators, but they were
mm,
definitely my first educators for my life. So I was deeply impacted and inspired by them and their exemplary lifestyle. And then I had the privilege of being in touch with some wonderful educators who
mm,
happened to be role models in my life. So,
mm,
very early on in my life, it was a kind of a dream, it was a kind of an aspiration,
mm,
mainly because I was fascinated by this profession. But then when I actually entered this particular profession with a lot of dreams and positivity and aspiration, I must be very honest and candid with you that increasingly I started feeling a lot more disillusioned and
mm,
disappointed, you know,
mm,
by the way education was delivered and by the name of education, what was actually happening. And I started to feel increasingly that we were actually doing a disservice
mm.
to our next generation.
Yes.
Because though, a lot of changes had happened in
Mm,
almost every sphere in our lives, education happens to be that particular sphere. But I think no major change has happened. We still teach in the same manner, we still
mm,
try to put all the children in the same box, and
mm,
we still sort of promote that one size fits all
mm,
educational paradigm. So, in a way, Barbara, I think that maybe we are still promoting that industrial factory model of
mm.
productivity in the name of education.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad, Queen, that you brought that up because I've noticed. I mean, even I'm telling my age, going back when I was younger, and going through the educational system, that it was like, okay, if you're not in this box, then you're not normal, or there's something wrong with you. Which it really wasn't. It was just every child has their pace and how they learn, and then sometimes you learn throughout not looking at putting people in one box, is that maybe there's a different learning style they need, or there's some type of thing that's going on where they have to, like dyslexic or something. They might be, you never know. So, but back in the day, my day, they were just like, okay, you don't know this, you're not reading this particular way, you're over here. So already you're excluding a child, which already that hurts them because they're like, okay, I'm all of a sudden I feel like I'm not normal. Am I abnormal? Why are they, putting me here? Or saying that you should be doing this. Why are you not doing it like this? Or why are you not learning this way? So hopefully, now moving to 2023, that it is changing a little when it comes to that with with children and the teenagers.
Yes, Barbara, it has changed a bit, but very honestly, telling you that as a very passionate educator, I'm not happy with the kind of changes even that has happened.
Mm,
Because I feel that education is such a sector
mm,
where minor tweaking or minor repairing or minor changes will
mm,
actually not cause an impact. And this is
mm,
such a kind of a system which requires perhaps a complete revolution. And nothing short of a revolution will actually work for the education sector. And
mm,
when I speak about revolutions, yeah, I'm using such a big word for a very specific reason, because when I'm telling you about revolution, that revolution essentially has to first happen here. So there has to be a paradigm shift in the mindset first. So
yes.
if you would like to, manifest or visualize any kind of positive transformation outside there, so
Mm,
it first has to be here. You first have to try, believing that such kind of change is
mm,
required and the time for the change is now. Only
mm.
then can you manifest that change outside.
Oh, that was powerful. That was so powerful, Doctor. You're so right. It always deals with the mindset. I always tell people, and if it's like it's not the norm and it's the abnorm, you are going to constantly see what you're seeing now, like you said, in the lane of education. And with you being who you are and what you're doing, I'm glad that you're that type of person to say, okay, we need to go outside the box here. We need to look at this a little bit more differently than what's going on. So your voice is very important right now, especially for like you said, the generation that's coming, and everything that's going on. And I was going to ask you, Professor, just to get just an idea, because we're in 2023. There is so much technology out there. I mean, the biggest thing right now that's hot is AI. That has like went full blown. I know in the U.S. They just really, I hate to say, give it to us natives in a sense, because it was always the big companies. They were doing all that. That AI has been out there, artificial intelligence, for a while. But now it's going into people that have their businesses now, small businesses, people that's educated, students, college students, and everything. And we're concerned because now you put that, you implemented this, so it kind of takes the education part a little bit to the side, because now you can only just type a question or say, do this paper for history or whatever, and AI will just sit there and give you all this information, and you're like, okay, here's my paper. And I'm thinking, okay, where is the concept of the learning experience now? We don't need to let that, now we're already dealing with some factors with that. Now that might take on a whole nother role. So how do you feel about that, with the technology and everything, you being an education person that you do with students?
I feel extremely positive about the entire thing, because I feel even if if I refer to whatever happened during the pandemic times,
Mm-hmm.
even then when I was in a lot of forums speaking about what is going to happen to education, what's the future of education, everything seems to end, everything seems to have no meaning. Even then, I was telling that very emphatically, I was making this point
Mm-hmm.
that these changes had been long overdue.
Okay.
And the pandemic had actually been a very positive influence when it comes to the sphere of education. You know why? Because maybe for the first time, it had actually propelled all of us to think out of the box and
Mm-hmm.
to embrace considerable flexibility and innovative strategies in
Mm-hmm.
addressing the complex issues facing education. So, maybe for the first time, when we all have been pushed to the edge, We started thinking innovatively and creatively. Well, that's unfortunate because it needed a pandemic to do that. But then, if you see the outcome
Mm-hmm.
of it,
Yes.
now the teachers are more empowered. They know how to embed technology into teaching. Now, technology was
Mm-hmm.
very much there even before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
But who had actually thought of a technology embedded teaching learning ecosystem before pandemic? That's the question.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that feedback that you gave regarding that because, like you said, unfortunately, it took the pandemic for us to get more creative, right? To understand, like, really stretching ourselves, really opening our minds to say what other things we can do. I mean, it was almost like we're forced to do it, doctor. It was almost that
Exactly.
because I mean, you're
Yes.
sitting here, you're at home, you can't go nowhere. People's businesses, they don't know how to do it. People going to school, they couldn't go. They're in their houses and stuff. And even teachers, they had to think of a different way, a learning technique for the students through this wonderful technology that we have. And without technology, we would. I mean, I'm just thinking about it, we would all been lost. I mean, I wouldn't get a chance to get to know you or other people out there that's doing what they do. We would have been kind of really locked in. Yeah.
And even Barbara, why about the educators and the system of education?
Mm-hmm.
Consider the plight of the children and the learners. Now, everybody was talking about what a great learning gap and learning loss that that this pandemic had actually brought about. But what about the positive side of the entire thing? The
Mm-hmm.
learners, I have seen the learners becoming more resilient. I have seen the learners becoming more self-aware of what they are
Mm-hmm.
doing, becoming self-motivated learners, becoming lifelong learners, taking ownership and responsibility of their learning, and perhaps for the very first time they realized that they also needed to have a choice as
Mm.
well as voice
Oh.
in order to determine what, where, and how they would learn.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a kind of empowerment of the learners, empowerment of the educators, and a kind of maybe the first step towards reimagining this entire education system.
Yeah. Oh, I totally, wow, that is powerful. I totally agree. It does, when I think about it, even with myself, I'm going to use myself as an example. When, going through the 3 years, we're, kind of going out now with the pandemic, that I found out there were a lot of things that I need to sit back, take a step back, and do some extra courses online to do more reading on some things, do some more research on what I was even doing in my own lane and what I do here. And that time, it was like, okay, we're pausing. The whole world is pausing. Now, what are you going to do about it for yourself? And I like how you said you took some people. A lot of people took the positive side and said, I need. I think I'm missing some things. I need to build my skills. I need to see what other things I can do. Like you said, thinking outside the box. And I'm telling you, doctor, I I was taking courses. I was looking at different things. I was online looking at how people do certain things, like on podcasting. I mean, because I was really wanting to be more of an expert in my field, and that kind of makes you, like that uniqueness, and that's what I know I needed to do at that time. So you are so right. The educational part of it really kind of just went through the roof for myself, and I know for a lot of others. Yes, definitely.
Absolutely. Because we all started, the wonderful thing that had happened is that we all started thinking differently. So, this is also something which I keep on telling my students that, the language that we use plays a very, very important role in our lives. So, instead of maybe perhaps saying that the pandemic was a difficult time, maybe we should rephrase it and say the pandemic was a different time.
Mm. Mm. See, your positivity is just so wonderful, and that's what I like. I always tell people, let's switch that always. Because think they're so easy to say the negative or what's not going right or what can we do now or whatever. But it's nice when you can flip that and say, well, what are we going to do? What is some things that some different that we can do? And that's what you in education. I think that, like you said, that was a booster for everybody. And you being the professor, I know that really, really was like in your mind, you were doing like a big hand clap. Say, now they're going to get it. Now they're going to understand how education is so vital, so important in everybody's life. Now, Professor, what kind of, I mean, because I know you're now, do you teach like all students? Are you doing more teenagers? I mean, I just want to get this little flavor on that part.
Yes, so the thing is, for 19 years of my life, I was into school education. So I was into school administration, starting, establishing, and you know, establishing new schools. So, in this context, I would also like to mention that I had actually founded the first STEM school in West Bengal, which was eventually awarded for being the second best international day school in the entire West Bengal region of India by Education World in 2016. So, that also happens to be my brainchild. So after spending, almost 2 decades in the field of school leadership, management, and administration,
Mhm.
currently I'm associated with the higher education domain. And to answer your question, that the kind of students that I deal with almost on a daily basis. Now my students are all grown ups, so the kind of courses that we offer, it's like bachelor's of education, master's in education, PhD in education. So my students are right now, they have all completed their masters and they have come to us to do their bachelor's in education because they would like to become educators and aspiring teachers.
Yes.
So that is the kind of age group that I deal with. But having said so, yes, I have daily interactions and I have, daily sessions with my teacher educators as well. So, you know, it's kind of always bubbling with energy.
Yeah. You know, okay. Can you add anything else to your credibility, Queen? I mean, now you're talking about STEM. You discovered. When I heard that, I was like, "There's another thing that she did." Oh my god! Yeah, we need more. You're basically a person that we all need to look up to and really ask those questions from you of how to get to that level of, I feel, level excellence. That's what I say. You set bars. You have set bars, and we all need to have that. I feel like we need to have those standards in our life. And if you can learn or ask questions from a wonderful professor like you, I think that's important. So I just want to reach out to tell the audience right now is that please ask those questions. Look for those mentors like this wonderful queen here. Now, before we wrap up in time, I was looking at it, I was like, wow, this was quick, so quick. I was having such a wonderful conversation and learning so much from you, especially what other things that you accomplished. Um, I want to ask this question, then I'm going to take myself down for 30 seconds. And I want you to, anything else that you want to give to the audience. But one question I want to give is what kind of, just maybe one particular tip or just motivate like the youth right now, just talking to the youth, what would one thing that you would give them as advice of how they're working in their world when it comes to education and trying to get to that level of it in their life?
Especially for the young people out there, I have two very magical words for them, and that can change anybody's life: passion, purpose. So these are the two things that you need to have. And trust me, if you have passion and if you have the purpose for your life, everything else follows. Everything else.
Okay, now that was like me. I can't say nothing after that because yes, that was powerful. That was really powerful. So, Queen, I'm going to take myself down just for a few seconds, and I want you, like you said, to share anything else that you want with the audience, and I'll be right back.
Sure. I would like to give a very, very simple yet a very strong message to everyone who is watching us today. It is absolutely imperative for the parents as well as for the educators to realize and acknowledge the basic fact that each and every child is born creative. Each and every child is born innovative. It's our responsibility to retain that creativity and innovation in them, and not to put them in one particular box and to think that they will all start to think in the same way and act in the same manner. So let us bring about a personalized, an organic, a stress free, and a productive and a meaningful teaching learning ecosystem rather than a kind of an education system which is only based on conformity, compliance, and competition.
Sometimes I always tell people, um, when a person is so powerful in what they just said, there is no need to come back and say anything. You just lead by that, and then that's all that I have to say because you've said it all. Again, Queen, as I said, I look at you as royalty because you are, what you have done, and being that leader, being that thought leader that you are. Thank you for doing that for us. Because I mean, I always tell people, I know you do your thing, you do your lane, you learn, you grow. But when you can take what you do, your expertise, and share it with the world and help others see something different so they can learn, so they can grow, I have to just totally commend you for that. I loved having you on the show today. Thank you so much. Can you let people know how they can contact you if they want to talk to you, get mentored by you, or have any other questions?
Sure, but before that, I would like to thank you immensely, Barbara. It had been such a nice experience, interacting with you, because when you kept on telling me that so much of positivity, I have the same thing for you as well. I got a lot of positive vibe when I was interacting with you. May God bless you, and may you continue doing the wonderful work that you have been doing, Barbara. And yes, uh, being an educator, having a very, very tight and productive schedule, yet I do find time to be on my social media handles. I'm quite active in my social media handles. So anybody who is willing, any like-minded person who is willing to get in touch with me, may definitely get in touch with me through Facebook, through Instagram, or through LinkedIn. So I'm quite active on my social media handles.
Wow. And you know what? I really thank you for that because we get a chance to kind of, like you said, talk to you, communicate with you. And like I tell people out there again, I'm telling the audience, make sure you reach out to this queen and any questions. She's on social media. And I know she wouldn't mind just answering some question that you might have regarding what you're dealing with, what kind of education route that you're going, just and how does she become where she be to the level that she became. So like I said, when you see people at that level, ask those questions because you can learn and grow from them. So thank you, Queen, again. You are family now. So anytime you want to come back and share some more of your wisdom and guidance with us, I will be so honored for you to do that. And if anybody else is interested in coming on the Visibility Corner with myself and other experts like this wonderful Queen, please contact me through social media and we will get you on the schedule. Again, as I always tell people, maximize your reach and impact with experts' visibility strategies on this show. Talk to you soon. Thank you so much.